You wake up, you didn't spend anything. You didn't miss a payment. You didn't make a bad investment. And yet you're poorer than you were yesterday. Not dramatically, not enough to trigger panic. Just a tiny subtraction happening quietly, constantly, in the background of your life. This is the invisible tax you pay without noticing. And unlike normal taxes, there's no bill, no deadline, no reminder. Just a slow leak. Right now, this matters more than it did a decade ago, because for most people, income has become predictable, while the forces acting on that income have become anything but. Prices shift faster, assets move further away, and the gap between what money looks like and what it actually does keeps widening. To understand the invisible tax, you have to start with a simple promise society makes to you. If you work, earn, and save, your future self should be safer than your present one. That promise feels obvious, almost natural, but here's the twist. Modern economies aren't designed to keep money still. They're designed to keep money moving. And when money moves, it changes value. Step one is the quiet erosion. Inflation isn't just rising prices. It's a change in how much real life your money can buy. Imagine your salary as a bucket of water. Every year, a few drops evaporate. You don't notice because the bucket still looks full, but the level is lower than it should be. At 2% inflation, money loses roughly half its purchasing power in about 35 years. At 5%, it happens in about 14. No alarms, no headlines most days, just math doing its job. But inflation alone isn't the whole story. Because the invisible tax isn't only about losing value, it's about where that lost value goes. Step two is timing. Not everyone experiences money at the same moment. People with savings sitting in cash feel the erosion first. People who own assets, property, stocks, businesses often feel it later, or sometimes not at all. Why? Because when prices rise, asset values often rise with them. The same force shrinking one balance sheet is inflating another. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a structural side effect of how financial systems stabilize growth. When economies slow, money gets cheaper to borrow. Cheaper borrowing supports spending and investment. Spending pushes prices up, and the cycle continues. Now, step three, the part almost nobody talks about. The compounding effect. If prices rise 3% a year and your income rises 2%, you're not just losing 1%. You're losing ground every single year, and the gap stacks on itself. Year 1, barely noticeable. Year 5, mildly uncomfortable. Year 10, you feel it in decisions, the car you delay, the home you reconsider, the risks you avoid. This is where the invisible tax becomes behavioral. It shapes choices long before it shows up in spreadsheets. And here's the uncomfortable math. If your savings earn less than inflation, the real return is negative. That means the safest looking option, doing nothing, is actually a slow transfer of purchasing power away from you. No paperwork required, no debate in Parliament, just a quiet redistribution driven by time. Public conversation rarely frames it this way. The narrative is usually about price pressures, economic cycles, or temporary adjustments. Technical language, neutral tone, but at the household level, it feels different. It feels like stability that never quite stabilizes. Like running on a treadmill where the speed increases just enough to keep you in place. There's a subtle irony here. The system needs mild inflation to function smoothly. Without it, debt becomes harder to manage, spending slows, and growth can stall. So the same mechanism that keeps economies flexible also guarantees that idle money slowly decays. It's not malicious, it's mechanical. Now zoom out. Over decades, the invisible tax reshapes wealth distribution. Those with access to assets that grow faster than inflation pull ahead. Those relying mainly on wages and cash savings tread water or slowly drift back. This isn't about individual discipline alone. It's about position within the system, timing, access, exposure. And because the change is gradual, it rarely sparks urgency. People adapt, they normalize higher prices, they recalibrate expectations. A coffee becomes a small luxury. A home becomes a long-term aspiration instead of a milestone. Retirement stretches further into the future. The risk isn't sudden collapse, it's quiet acceptance. So what does the invisible tax really do? It compresses the margin between what feels comfortable and what actually is. It rewards movement over stillness. And it turns time into a financial variable, whether you notice or not. There's no single villain in this story, just incentives layered on top of incentives, policies designed for stability, markets responding to signals, people adjusting slowly, rationally, almost imperceptibly. And maybe that's why it remains invisible, because nothing dramatic happens on any given day. No clear moment where you can point and say, that's when it changed. But if you compare your purchasing power across years instead of days, the pattern becomes obvious. Money didn't disappear. It just quietly lost its reach. So the real question isn't whether the invisible tax exists. It's how much of your financial life is shaped by something you rarely measure. And if a system can shift your future without asking for permission, what else might it be changing while you're busy looking somewhere else?